Welcome to this explainer. Look, the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam is literally your gateway into the booming cloud computing industry. Whether you're aiming for a hands-on technical, engineering role, or maybe you're in tech sales and management, this certification proves you've got that foundational literacy. Today, we're going to distill the official AWS CLF C02 exam guide and essential study materials into a high-yield, top 10 masterclass to help you absolutely crush your certification. Let's get into it.
Now, you might be wondering, am I actually ready for this? Well, success on this exam requires way more than just memorizing a glossary of vocab words. AWS really tests your ability to navigate scenario nuances. For instance, they're not just going to ask, what is Amazon S3? No way. Instead, they'll throw a scenario at you asking something like, which service provides the most cost-effective storage for regulatory archives that you almost never access? You really need to know the practical applications. So let's make sure we're truly ready to tackle what AWS is actually testing, how to spot those tricky common traps, and how to apply these concepts in real-world situations. Okay, here is our game plan for today. We'll be covering 1. The exam blueprint, 2. Essential cloud concepts, 3. Security and shared responsibility, 4. Navigating core AWS services, and finally 5. Architecture and migration strategies. Starting right off with Section 1, the exam blueprint, setting the stage.
So topic 1 is the exam blueprint itself. Honestly, understanding what the test actually values is half the battle when you're designing your study plan. Here are the 4 domains you absolutely need to know. You'll notice cloud concepts makes up 24% of the test, security and compliance sits at 30%, and billing, pricing, and support is the smallest piece of the pie at just 12%. But look at that absolute highest yield area, a hefty 34% dedicated entirely to cloud technology and services. That right there is the meat of the exam. That's where you'll be tested on your knowledge of specific AWS services. So you're definitely going to want to allocate your study time accordingly, because that 34%, that's what will ultimately make or break your final score.
Moving right along to Section 2, Essential Cloud Concepts, Building the Right Mindset.
Topic 2 dives into cloud economics, and this really requires a complete paradigm shift from traditional on-premises computing. You absolutely must know the difference between CapEx and OpEx. Think of CapEx, or capital expenditure, kind of like buying a massive fleet of cars up front. It's super expensive, it's rigid, and you usually end up over-provisioning hardware just in case there's a sudden spike in traffic. The cloud, on the other hand, runs on OpEx, or operational expenditure. It's way more like using a ride-sharing app. You have variable costs, and you only pay for the exact compute power you consume, literally as you go. This massive shift from a huge upfront capital sink to flexible, pay-as-you-go operations is a core reason companies migrate to AWS in the first place. And trust me, it is highly testable.
Next up, Topic 3, the AWS Well-Architected Framework. See, you aren't just expected to build infrastructure. You need to know how to build it well. This framework is basically your definitive checklist for maintaining a healthy cloud environment across 6 specific pillars. We're talking security, reliability, performance efficiency, cost optimization, operational excellence, and sustainability. The exam is absolutely going to test your ability to match a scenario to the correct pillar. For example, if a question talks about running and monitoring systems to continuously deliver business value and improve processes, well, that's operational excellence. Or, and this is a major addition for the C02 version of the exam, sustainability, which focuses on minimizing the environmental impact of your cloud workloads. Memorize these 6 pillars, guys, because they really should guide every single architectural decision you make. Now for our next essential concept, we have to look at a classic exam trap that trips up countless candidates. Listen closely. High availability and global reach are not the same thing. High availability is all about fault tolerance. It means deploying your resources across multiple availability zones so that if a single data center loses power or goes offline, your application seamlessly survives. Global reach, though, is all about geographic proximity and speed. It involves using edge locations and multiple regions to make sure a user logging in from Tokyo gets the exact same incredibly fast loading speed as a user sitting in New York. Make sure you understand this distinction crystal clear for test day.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, Security and Shared Responsibility, Protecting Your Assets. Topic 4 is the shared responsibility model, which basically governs how compliance and security are handled. I always say, think of AWS as a landlord. They secure the building's physical perimeter, they make sure the power stays on, and they guard the concrete walls. That is security of the cloud. They handle the physical hardware and the global infrastructure. But you're the tenant. You are fully responsible for locking your own apartment door and securing the valuables inside. That is security in the cloud. You have to manage your customer data, configure your identity and access management policies, and diligently patch your guest operating systems. Knowing exactly where the AWS boundary ends and your responsibility begins is pretty much guaranteed to show up on the exam.
Topic 5 focuses deeply on IAM, or Identity and Access Management. When it comes to granting permissions here, the absolute golden rule for the exam is the principle of least privilege. That means giving a user, a group, or a system only the exact minimum permissions they need to do their specific job, nothing more. Furthermore, you have your root user account, which holds the master keys to your entire cloud kingdom. It is incredibly dangerous if compromised. The exam will definitely test you on this. You must lock that root account away with strong multi-factor authentication and literally never, ever use it for your daily admin tasks. Always create separate scoped IAM users instead.
Topic 6 highlights another vital security distinction, knowing exactly when to apply a security group versus a network ACL. Let's use a really simple analogy for this one. Think of a network ACL, or access control list, as the perimeter fence around a large VIP club. It operates at the subnet level, providing a broader, stateless layer of defense for an entire segment of your network property. A security group, on the other hand, is like the bouncer standing right at the front door of the actual VIP room. It operates at the specific instance level, statefully checking the IDs of incoming traffic for your individual virtual machines. Knowing which one protects the subnet and which one protects the instance is absolutely crucial. Okay, moving into the heavy hitter, Section 4, Navigating Core AWS Services, the Technical Stack.
Topic 7 is the literal foundation of the physical cloud itself, the AWS global infrastructure. First, you have a region, which is a broad, distinct geographic area, like US East or Europe West. Inside that region, you'll find multiple availability zones, which are isolated clusters of actual physical data centers built for redundancy. And zooming out even further, you have edge locations. These act as a massive global web of caching outposts. They store copies of your static videos and images incredibly close to your end users all over the planet to deliver ultra-low latency. You really have to understand how these three physical components interact to give your business agility, resilience, and global performance. Topic 8 brings us to compute, which is essentially the engine of the cloud. Let's keep these definitions punchy and memorable. Amazon EC2, that is your classic virtual server. You pick the operating system, you manage it, you have full control. But with AWS Lambda, you enter the modern world of serverless computing. You simply upload your code, and AWS handles literally everything else, spinning up resources on demand and charging you down to the exact millisecond of execution time. Lastly, if you see an exam scenario asking about managing Docker or handling container orchestration, boom, you should immediately zero in on Amazon ECS or Amazon EKS.
Topic 9 covers where all your valuable data actually lives. You need to instantly associate Amazon S3 with limitless, scalable object storage. It's basically the ultimate massive bucket for your flat files, images, videos, and backups. Amazon EBS, however, is block storage. That means it acts exactly like a traditional virtual hard drive that you physically plug into a specific EC2 server to run an OS or an application. Moving over to databases, Amazon RDS is your go-to for traditional relational databases, when you need strictly structured tables like a financial ledger. Conversely, Amazon DynamoDB is the answer when your application demands massive, super flexible, and lightning-fast NoSQL data performance at pretty much any scale. Topic 10 ties our technical stack together with networking essentials. Your Amazon VPC, or Virtual Private Cloud, is your own private, securely isolated slice of the massive public AWS cloud. It acts as your definitive network boundary. Next, think of Amazon Route 53 as the highly available phone book of the internet. It handles all of your global DNS routing and directs users to your applications. Finally, if a test question asks about establishing a dedicated, private, and consistent physical network connection straight from a corporate on-prem data center directly into the AWS cloud environment, the correct answer is always AWS Direct Connect. And that brings us to Section 5, Architecture and Migration Strategies, Making the Move. So while we've officially hit our 10 primary technical topics, there is a crucial bonus topic you absolutely must know for the CLF C02 exam, the AWS Cloud Adoption Framework, or CAF. This framework provides the strategic organizational roadmap for a successful cloud migration. It's broken down into 6 perspectives: business, people, governance, platform, security, and operations. The exam is going to test your ability to match organizational goals with the correct perspective. For instance, if a scenario asks which perspective focuses on updating staff skills and training your team for the cloud era, the answer is the people perspective. It's all about aligning your human and business goals with these technological frameworks. All this studying, from cloud economics and global infrastructure down to security boundaries and migration frameworks, it all leads to one ultimate goal: achieving your AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner badge. Earning this certification really does more than just prove you can pass a test. It validates genuine cloud literacy. And this isn't just an asset for back-end engineers. It empowers project managers, sales teams, finance professionals, basically anyone navigating the modern tech landscape, giving you the foundational knowledge required to actually speak the language of the cloud and make informed, strategic decisions. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you totally energized and ready to hit the books. We've comprehensively covered the exam blueprint, the underlying economics, security models, and the core computing, storage, and networking services. The cloud isn't just the future anymore, it's the baseline for the present. So looking back at these top 10 crucial topics, I want you to ask yourself, where is your biggest knowledge gap right now? And which core AWS service are you going to conquer first?